Today I'm talking with Jack, the guitarist from Marmozets. Marmozets have their third album, Cowardice, released on the 22nd of May. We're talking about that, we're talking about their upcoming UK tour and their festival sets, including Download Festival, which I'm very excited about. Links to all that and more will be in the description below, but here's the full interview with Jack. We've got the new album to talk about. There's a tour on sale right now. But also, I mean, this has been set up. We've got to give them a shout out by the guys at Download Festival, which I'll be going to for the full weekend. You guys are on the lineup. How much are you looking forward to Download? And did you play? Were you on the main stage when you played last time?
Yeah, I think, yes, it most definitely was.
I want to hear the anecdotes. What are some of your favourite memories of Download in particular, either going as a fan or playing?
Yeah, I've never actually been as just a fan, but when we played the main stage, me and Becca, my dad goes every year. It's brilliant. He's got like a group of friends that they go every year. So I think last time when we did the main stage, me and Becca hung around for the rest of the weekend, and that was a lot of fun. But again, it's just such an incredible festival. I think it's a weird thing, is just the concept of a festival, I think, in terms of just the amount of people you can get in one space, but everyone get along.
It's not, I was surprised when I first went was 2010. And I think that must have been one of the busiest, because that was AC/DC year when they brought their own AC/DC stage.
Right, wow.
Peak lineup with Malcolm Young still on rhythm guitar, the Black Ice tour, and I couldn't believe how nice everyone was. I think seeing AC/DC there is my favourite gig ever.
I can imagine that was pretty cool.
it was up there, man. But yeah, you guys are playing 2000 Trees too, which is one of my favourite festivals, and supporting Biffy Clyro at Finsbury Park. There's some big shows, man. That must be exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of been a bit of a whirlwind. I think those types of shows are just always crazy and always feel really surreal. Whenever we've done a show that's over like 10,000 or it's outdoors or whatever, it always feels pretty sort of special, naturally. And they're the shows I do definitely always remember. And I think you get this sort of incredible sense of anticipation before, and it's not that you don't at like regular club gigs or anything like that, but there's just something about it being, the way you sort of even just putting them, it's like it's Download Festival, it's 2000, you know what I mean? Like, these are like things that we would never ever take for granted, and we're still in awe that we've been asked to do them again, I think. They are genuinely, I think, I'd say probably life-changing experiences each time you do something like that. Even if it is maybe not personally, but as a band, definitely, it can be such a, you can sort of see you progressing, I suppose, when you play these festivals, and just, you're gaining new followers, if it all goes well. It's always been fun. I think I'm trying to think how many times we've done Download now. I think the year before, maybe 2 years before we did the main stage, we played the festival 4 times over the weekend.
Wow.
So we did like 2 sets in a day.
Intense.
That was really fun. I remember that, like lugging gear through the festival and stuff, and that was really fun. The main felt like we were had to be a bit more sort of proper, and we got like loads of like cabs for the stage. You know what I mean? We were like, oh yeah, to try and keep up with everyone.
Put it this way, that to me is like childhood dream stuff. Playing on the main stage to a massive crowd. What isn't childhood dream stuff is dragging your gear to play the second time that day to a smaller tent.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the sort of realistic bit that you don't consider.
That's what people don't see, but it is what gets you to the main stage. There's no other way.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it is all just about kind of, I don't know, we've always been pretty kind of chilled on it all, and we've always had ambition, don't get me wrong, like we've always been like, we want to do it the best we possibly can, of course. But those sort of moments, and that, in a way, when I look back at that was one of the most fun bits of the whole thing, was the fact that we were like literally going through a festival carrying amp heads and guitars and, like dropping drumsticks in muddy puddles and,
100%. That's great. Anyway, I've heard the new album. It is fantastic. I'm a fan of the old stuff, but this album in particular sounds like it will sound great on some bigger stages, if you ask me. So that must be exciting.
Thank you very much.
It's out the 22nd of May, and it is, how are you pronouncing this? Co.war.dice. How are you pronouncing it?
Cowardice.
Cowardice. I got you.
Straight up. But then
So
it's one of those, you sort of split it up and then it sort of looks interesting, and it's strange actually, I think, as well, is like the sort of the way that Becca split it. You're like, yeah, you can sort of find a few meanings in that, I think, for sure.
I'm into that. It's already a talking point. That's really cool. So, I mean, I guess I've got to ask, where does that title come from? Because if I remember right, is there a lyric supporting that on the album?
There's a lyric right at the end of the album, actually. It's in the last song.
Oh, that
And
last song's good. I made a note to talk about it.
yeah, it's a long 2 chords, and it's amazing how that song came about.
Please talk about it.
Let's do it. It's literally based, and the funny thing is, I'm in the room that me and Becca wrote that in.
Wow.
So it's not like our spare room in our flat in Bingley. And we literally, I'm trying to think where. It's one of those, like the initial starting point when we write is often pretty blurry. We kind of just go into a room, not always even with the intention of writing something, but we kind of just sort of play along, or Beck will be starting singing something we like or whatever. And I believe it was like 2 chords, and I made a drum loop, literally, and then I had 2 chords. I don't know if this is in tune, roughly. So it's effectively like this chord here, which is like an E major chord.
Yeah.
Play on the 9th fret, so it's like a B kind of sussy thing.
Yeah, B11, I think that is.
I think you're right. And then we do that with an A over the top of the second one, so you take the F sharp off.
Gotcha, nice.
Out of tune. But it's just those 2 chords, like, all the way through.
And it really builds that one. I mean, musically, it feels like an influence from a Springsteen or a Sam Fender, the way that it builds. But of course, Becca doing a thing over the top makes it unmistakably you guys.
Yeah, I think that is the absolute key ingredient. It's like our sort of signature herb or spice, whatever, in every single meal or song that we can provide, is that we have Becca's voice. And I think that's been such a huge part to our sound. And as you can tell, I mean, if you listen to like our earlier EPs, even going through the first album to the second album to the third one now, you can hear that musically, the thing that has changed the most is, the thing that's changed the most is the music.
Yes.
Becca has been consistently her throughout the whole thing.
Rightly so.
And that's what has kept it all kind of gelled. I think that's what's kept it sounding like us.
Yeah.
Is purely because she's got so many elements to her voice, and there's new elements, I think, that we've always known about that hasn't maybe been showcased before this record even, and some more of a sort of delicate side that she has. And, you know, the expression within her voice is just, I don't know, I might be biased because I'm her husband, but it's, you know, unmatched, unrivaled. I think she's incredible, really, really amazing. So that's the thing, and that's been the key to us. And I think we found freedom in that, I think, with this record especially. Like, you can kind of just do whatever, and as soon as she starts singing on it, it'll start sounding like us. Do you know what I mean? So it's we're kind of lucky in that sense. And I think because we have been so experimental with different genres and stuff in the past as well, that can kind of help us a little bit, in a sense of being a bit more sort of free and trying new stuff, say, or just being a bit more brave, I think, is what we've done, and kind of stuck a bit more to straighter time signatures.
No,
generally
indeed. So, first track on the album, I think this is the one that you're starting your live sets with as well, or you were back in December and January. Kiss from a Mother, right? We've got this Tarantino-esque kind of intro. And then it kicks in with a great riff. I think this is in drop D as well, single note riff. But then there's some noises just before the riff kicks in. Is that on the guitar, or is that on sort of synths and stuff?
So it's all guitar.
Wow, I suspected so. That's really exciting.
Yeah,
because of course you guys are now a 4-piece. You're down a second guitar player now, so you're having to. It sounds like on the album you're kind of committing to go. I'm going to make sure I can play all the guitar parts on my one guitar as much as possible.
So there's been, I think, with this album, because it's been predominantly me and Becca that have written it. I mean, I think I've written all the guitar parts on it, and they were all kind of just for one guitar, unintentionally, but that's kind of just how it's happened this time round. Do you know what I mean? So I think on some of the demo versions of some of the songs, there maybe have been two guitars in mind, but when it sort of came down to it, I did have that in mind. I was like, I don't want it to just be, do you know what I mean? Having to have loads of stuff on track or whatever, or have to, even employ another guitarist or whatever. We tried to I was thinking it'd be nice just to be able to play through these songs in one go and do it properly, I think. And there was a video that we saw, it's that, I'm trying to think what song it is now. It's the Cult song. Is it She Sells Sanctuary?
That's the biggest one.
I think it is that song. And we were watching the music video for some reason while we were recording. And this is just before we decided that Sam was going to play bass like as a full-time thing.
Yeah.
And the space in that track and the recording and everything is just, I was like, that is so amazing. And most of the bands I'm into have one guitar anyway, usually.
Yeah.
And there's just this space that you have where everything just sort of sits. And part of the vibe for the band before was that frenetic kind of overload, loads of things going on. And I think as we've kind of matured, grown up a little bit, it's, I don't want to be doing that all the time anymore. It's kind of, I want it to be a bit straighter, a bit easier to listen to in a sense, but kind of just, it gives you more space for a bit more freedom than I think, and each part matters more. It's rather than just thinking of a harmony part for the sake of it, because you don't want to be stood there for 2 minutes. It's
make it hit, right?
Exactly. And I think it just sounds a bit punchier.
I wanted to say with that, it remind what you've been saying with like simplifying the guitar riffs to just getting one part that you can play live. And then doing what you want with it, maybe through multiple amps, but even through one amp, reminds me of what Matt Bellamy from Muse tried to do after they'd done the first couple of albums. It was all about layering guitars and making as many guitar parts as you can get sounding as big as possible. But as he's playing these bigger places, he's like, no, I want to play one guitar part, normally on one string, and make it sound as heavy as possible. And that's honestly all their biggest songs and their biggest riffs.
Yeah, and we did some shows with Muse, probably maybe 10 years ago. It was like an anniversary. It was just after they released that drones thing.
Yeah. Psycho was on that, I think.
That was it. That was the single. Yeah. That thing. And we got to see them play. The venues were like small for them, at least. Like I remember Chris, the bassist, walking into Manchester Academy and going, "God, it's so much smaller than I remember it being." And we're like, swamped.
But they're used to Wembley.
yeah, exactly. It was funny. But I mean, that was fun. But we learned that so quickly just by listening to them live, and just the power of playing riffs without chords in as well. And
100%.
Like it just being super kind of unison with the bass and the guitar. And we did learn a lot. It was like a proper educational experience, I think, was that tour, more so than say maybe other ones where you just sort of want to hang out and whatever. But that was more kind of like, whoa, like these guys are
I think that's the real advantage of being a support band a little bit as you are coming, or at any level. Because otherwise, if you're just headlining shows, you're only seeing bands that are basically smaller than you. And you're not able to learn what people like Muse, or just bands that everyone has. I've worked in many venues, for example. I've worked at the Lead Mill. I've worked at O2 Academy, Leeds. Been to see loads of venues, gigs while I've been down here. And it's a real advantage to see stuff that you wouldn't normally see, that you wouldn't pay a ticket to. Because things just hit more live than they do when you hear them on record. There's so many more visceral things that you can learn.
There is, I think, as well, from a band's perspective, it's, a record it doesn't always, from my experience, always end up sounding how you had it in your head.
Yeah.
Especially if you come, because most bands, maybe not so much anymore, but from when we were starting, like 17 years ago, or whatever it was now, it was that you did gigs, and then you sort of tried to pick up some fans that way, and then MySpace came along, and it was like, oh, you can do it all on the internet now. Oh, that's cool.
100%.
It's changed a lot, but most bands, the foundation of a band, maybe a real band, depends how you want to look at it. I won't go down that road, but it's like you start off by doing gigs, and that physical kind of human interaction with people, and that's how you sort of cut your teeth, as they say, isn't it? And doing it the hard way and doing it sort of the real way to some people's eyes.
Yeah.
So when you're watching a band perform, especially bands like Muse that did it that way, that started off doing really small shows and playing the Cavern in Exeter or whatever it was, and like all that kind of stuff. It's like when you've seen them live, that's how they intend the band to sound. Do you know what I mean? That is the band then, rather than it being through an iPhone speaker or whatever.
100%.
So I completely agree with what you're saying, and it actually makes you sort of perceive bands differently as well. I think in a live environment.
Big stuff. So New York, I think that's the second song on the album. I love these kind of, I don't know, blurred MOR style harmonics that you did. It reminded me of that. There's not enough of those type of riffs. Tell me about how that song came about.
That was a funny night. We'd basically stayed in and got a takeaway, me and Becca. I think we had a babysitter and we drank loads of red wine. And we were just sort of talking about our we were literally, it was funny. It felt really like a corporate way of writing a song. We're not only really like in the moment with it. Like, that's cool. We're just like in Ableton, just demoing whatever. That one wasn't like that. It was kind of like, let's try and piece this song. Let's try and write something cool and whatever. And I had this loop, which was the guitar riff. And weirdly, the two kind of main bits, there's a bit with the harmonics in it, with the slides. And then there's the counter melody thing in the chorus. They were supposed to be, or in the demo at least when we wrote it, they were kind of on top of each other at the same time. And it created this kind of like weird harmony thing. And it sounded really mental. Bit sort of Battlesy in a way, like the band Battles, that kind of synthy, weird, like can't really explain what's going on, but it sounds cool vibe. And then again, being aware that I was then going to be the sole guitarist, we found a place for both of them in a way. But yeah, that was just like completely cool way of being like, in terms of like writing lyrics anyway, it was Becca just sort of reminiscing about this experience that we had of when we signed, or just before we signed to Roadrunner the first time round. We kind of got shipped out to New York to the Atlantic Roadrunner office by this amazing guy called Dave Rath, who ended up being our A&R man. He was an absolute legend, but he kind of like flew us out there, all expenses paid, weekend away in New York. It's the first time that Sam and Josh left the country ever, and we did like a showcase gig. I can't remember what the band, there was like 7 bands on it, like a lot of American lineups like this, like 7 bands on a normal gig bill.
I mean, American festivals are ridiculous, aren't they? Like when we were young, it's like, well, I can't, I want to see every band, there's not a chance.
Yeah, it was at a venue that was owned by Andrew WK in like downtown somewhere. I can't remember the name of the gig, but anyway, we played like 20 minutes in front of like a lot of industry people effectively, and it all went really well. And we sort of did some meeting stuff as well when we were there, and just had a mooch around and went to be tourists for a bit and all that. And it was a lot of the song is just about that, just sort of experiencing something completely new and being in this city that you've always kind of wanted to go to. And, when we're there on like the coolest possible terms. I think we were like 18. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, this is sick. We're here because of the band. Like, that's really kind of, really a dream come true.
Absolutely.
But then when we came to actually like the sort of, the melodies and the writing stuff, all the vocals, it's all just Becca doing a thing. And I just followed, and it was like, there was definitely like a 70s kind of punk energy going on in the background. And like, we've been really kind of digging back into that kind of sound. I think I was into a lot of The Damned at the time. So that kind of like neat thing. And a lot of the stuff that my dad was into, weirdly. My dad's got really good taste in music, I've realised now. But, I should have listened to him earlier, perhaps. But, just like, it's a complete 3-chord banger.
So let me ask you, what was your first guitar riff that you ever learnt, or the song that you played? Take me right back to the beginning, because you seem like a hell of a player, so I think people could really learn from you here.
Thank you. I've been playing a long time. My dad played guitar a little bit, and he taught me some bits. The first chord I learned was a B dominant 7.
Yeah,
it's bizarre. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know why. That's the first chord I learned.
I call that the busker's chord, because when you go from like G to B7 or E to B7, it's always a bit buskery, isn't it?
It is a little, but there's something, I don't know. My dad, I was like, I want to learn a chord. He's like, well, you need to learn your scales and stuff, really. And, we can, and he's like, try learn this. And I was like, okay. And I was there for ages, and he'd be like, and then putting your finger, all that. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. The first riff I learned, though, was Seven Nation Army.
The classic. Again, starts off on one string. You can hit it with power chords, but yeah, Seven Nation Army or Smoke on the Water, you can't get away from them as first songs.
Yeah, and weirdly, everyone learns both songs in the wrong position or in the wrong tuning or whatever. It's funny. I think, are they both in open tunings, actually? Smoke on the Water might not be. But
Smoke on the Water isn't, but he plays it as like a reverse power chord. So he plays it with a power chord without the root. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Blackmore's insane. He's one of my favourite guitarists. He's incredible.
Every solo of his, I'm always like, no, I can't. I'm not there yet.
His sound. I mean, one of my there's a video that you'll have to try. I don't know if you've seen it or not. It's them playing, Deep Purple playing like with a rainbow behind them in the 70s, and he sets his amps on fire.
I've not seen that. That's amazing.
And they blow up, and he's just like beating. It's just the most incredible. It's insane. Really, really, really
pure
amazing.
Spinal Tap a decade before.
It's kind of, but I mean, it is completely Spinal Tap, but he means it. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not satire. It's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, so my dad taught me Seven Nation Army on the A string, so 7th fret, from there.
Yeah.
And I remember going one finger and running out onto the street and showing all my mates I used to play football with that I could play this riff and being.
Yes.
I completely fell in love with it. And
so you got over stage fright straight away then. You were like, I know this riff. I'm going straight outside and showing everyone in the neighborhood.
Yeah. So it'll have been 2003.
Incredible.
So I'll have been 10.
I mean, that was that just come out? Maybe it's 2001, but...
It was 2003 that album came out.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah. So it was like my uncle and my dad were big into the White Stripes. And I remember Elephant coming out. It was like this like life-changing, because I listened to them a bit before. And this sort of when I was about 8 or 9, I was quite young, but that's when I was kind of getting into music, really.
Fair play.
So I've listened to stuff with my dad, and I remember getting, it's the album before, so it was White Blood Cells, and listening to that on CD. And I think that was like 2000 then, and being like, this is just, and I remember just loving it. Again, pretty young and not really fully understanding it, but visually, I was very drawn to it. It was just like so simple, like Lego.
A visceral reaction, right? That was, and that simplicity.
That was it. I remember my dad coming back with Elephant on CD and being like, oh, they've got a new album out. Obviously, I'm a bit older then. And I'm like, cool, listen to it. And it's still one of my favourite albums ever, that.
Yeah.
It just absolutely blew my mind. And I just effectively stopped playing football and just sat in my bedroom and wanting to play guitar. That was it. It was literally that record that changed like absolutely everything for me.
Good
It was really amazing. And then I got to see him live in 2005.
Was that at a Leeds Fest or something? I'm trying to think.
It was actually, I saw it maybe 2006. It was at the Empress Ballroom in Blackpool, but not the Jolene one. They went back again a few years later.
Wow. Oh, incredible.
Yeah. They opened up with Blue Orchid. I remember that. And he had a silly hat on. But they were, wow, amazing band.
Oh, yeah, they really are. I've never seen the White Stripes live, only Jack White a couple of times. So it must have been so powerful. And again, that single note, one riff thing. I mean, he was going without a bass player, but no one complains. You know what I mean? No one's like, oh, you need to play to a backing track. And I think they were the template that Royal Blood, took on later on, and so many bands now. That simple thing can hit.
There was a band that he was in before, or kind of maybe at the start of when the White Sox were still doing it, called the Upholsters, it was him and a different guy on drums, and very, very similar thing. But they've got like an EP. It's really, really hard to find. I think it's on YouTube. There's some of the songs there. But that again, it's similar, same thing. But it's so good. There's something about, again, it's that space thing. It's that whole, we've done it. Even there's a song on this album coming out called Like Last Night, which is intentionally really garagey. There's like Sam was like, we shouldn't have any bass in this. I'm like, you can't just like stand around them. He's like, oh, I'll come in for the half through a verse on like a Hofner thing. So it's like there's no bass in that anyway. And then, fully in for the choruses or whatever. But it's intentionally just like when you think the bass is going to come and it doesn't, there's something about that is just really cool, like holding off as long as you can.
Absolutely. No, totally. It's subverting expectations as well. So tell me about, well, I have to mention before we get on to guitars, I have played Jack White's signature guitar and it's ridiculous.
Yes,
I could never work out what half the dials did, half the knobs do. And I love all his, I was in Third Man Records in London a couple of months ago and all the pedals, there you go. There you go. Happy days. But all his pedals are ridiculous as well. They've all got, they're all like steampunk style.
Yeah.
Nothing does what you expect. But yeah, fabulous store. Well worth a trip. And it's good to hear you're a big fan of that as well. But what's your number one guitar for this batch of songs and this tour coming up?
So I've had it, I'm trying to think, I've had it for maybe like 3 or 4 years now. It's labelled Providence. They've renamed themselves to Fairlane since. My friend Ruben makes them, and it was a complete kind of happy accident that I got hold of it. We were doing some recording in London with Larry, who produced our first record. We used to go down there quite frequently, do some like writing sessions and stuff, and we'd end up just sort of hanging out more than writing, really.
Yeah, sure.
And he was like, Rube's started making guitars. I think he started it just before lockdown. Maybe it's like a bit of a lockdown project or whatever. And I was like, no, I didn't know that. Cool. He's like, I'll get him to bring a few down because they're really good. I was like, okay. So he brought 3 down with him to the studio in Brixton we were in on Brixton Hill. And I was like, whoa. Like, this is crazy how good it was. Like, I was completely blown away. So he did like 3 prototypes effectively. And I was like, can I have this? And he's like, well, you need to buy it off me. I was like, yeah, of course. So I'm just a bit, like, this is the best guitar I've ever played in my life. And we sorted all that out, and I've had it since. And I've had another one made since as well. And they're like my main 2. It's effectively like a Fender kind of Jazzmaster shape.
Yeah, it's an offset body shape, isn't it? What colour's your main one? I've got a couple of photos.
It's the Sunburst one.
Gotcha, yeah. Oh, it's stunning.
It's mental. So when we went to record the album, I obviously took those 2 with me. There's that and a black one that I've got. And Jonathan, the producer, was like, yeah, we'll try it. We plugged it in, and it's like every single guitar that we had in the studio, and there was quite a lot of guitars in the studio, like there was some nice stuff. It trumped all of them by like a long way. It was kind of depressing, actually, because I took like my dad's Les Paul, which is an amazing sounding guitar. I kind of wanted to use that, and he's like, it just doesn't sound as good. I'm like, what?
Yeah. For what you need it for, the tool for the job. And instruments, exactly. I'm a big believer that instruments have music in them. They have songs in them, and if they do a certain thing, don't fight it. The worst thing you can do sometimes is buy one guitar because you like the look of it and then put a different pickup in it to get the sound you want. Square peg, round hole, right?
Exactly. I find the majority of the time, the worst thing to possibly do, I think, is buy a guitar based on aesthetic. Genuinely, because everyone does it. Everyone has done it. I've done it so many times. But the best guitars I've played on are often kind of the ugliest. They don't always look that great. And you can you have like studio guitars that are just like these weird kind of like,
no one would play it live, but it's got the magic.
Yeah, but they sound great. And this one, I think, it's a fortunate thing that it is best of both. It sounds, it's like getting like a really decent old Telecaster. It looks good and it sounds really good. It's that kind of thing. But this was one of those as well where it looks awesome and it just sounds great. So I used that on literally every single song on the album, bar 1 or 2 actually, because there's one that's using this acoustic. But
Of course, you do have an acoustic track on there. That's the one before. I don't know even know if we can say track names now, but track 6 is sort of
Yeah, you can. I think you can because it's all out.
it feels like the end of side 1, like if we're tweaking it as albums, right?
Yeah, and I've got it on a test press that I've been listening to, and it ends. That is where side 1 ends after that song, and it's a complete fluke. And I was like, "That's such like it's sort of the song finishes, then you hear the needle leaving, and you're like, that's perfect. I'm so happy with that."
Always use that trick, by the way. It's a big thing, and I mean, because in the 70s and 80s, a rock band like Aerosmith might put the ballad there to finish side 1, like the power
right.
ballad or something.
Yeah.
Or a slightly slower BPM song to wind down before you change any. But it can really help to structure an album to think in those terms. Because otherwise, how do you choose? You know what I mean?
Exactly. I think it's definitely worked. Like when you do listen to it on an LP, it's interesting because it's the second side definitely feels a bit sort of heavier. There's a couple like kind of bit more. It's a bit more sort of guitar-y, I think, if anything.
Or at least it's probably even more dancey as well. Like you Want the Truth has got that faster BPM and it's got that whammy bar. Is it a whammy pedal? I presume that must be like a Digitech or something, right?
No, it's an analog. It's my old. I've got a Pog 1. It's like the original Pog.
My word, yes, someone's still using that. Do you know who else uses that? I forget his name now. The guitarist of Jamiroquai recorded all of Jamiroquai's biggest songs in like 2000 on the original Pog.
So I had a Pog 2 for ages,
Man,
and a whammy on my board.
They were it. They were the height of technology.
Yeah, the Pog, but I always wanted a Pog 1. They were just quite hard to find, and I got it from some guy in Australia. Like I think I paid 400 quid for it or something. But at the time they were going for including shipping. But they were going for like £1,000 at this point. Like they went up so much. It's like it's becoming one of those unattainable Klon vibes, Analog Man, King of Tone things that I really want that I'm not going to be able to get my hands on. But I love that thing. And it's literally the setting is everything on full besides the lower octave. And there was some interesting signal chain stuff going on as well with that song. So we had, it was all like fully wet, but then we were running through a thing that I've got called a ferrograph, which I've been using a lot. I've been using that live as well, which I probably shouldn't be because it's from the 50s, but running that with like a bit of like reverb through it. It's like an old echo. What do they call them? Like the tape delay things. Yeah, like there was like one of those things that we had going through and all sorts. The sound like that you hear of the guitar is like there's nothing in post really. Like it was all done then and there. So I was like recording and like just riffing and stuff through the speakers in the studio with that sound. It was just like this is so much fun. It was really fun.
That's stunning. So
it's just in a weird tuning. So that's in like it's in E standard, but the low E string is tuned down to a lower A. So it's like an octave thing.
I'm getting more. Apparently, that's a Tom Morello trick, so that everything else is where you would expect it. I forget which songs he does it on, but Hamish from Vukovi said that's a Tom Morello thing anyway.
Right. Well.
But tell me about your amps. What amps are you using for the upcoming tour?
So for the upcoming tour, I'll be using I've got a 1970 Fender Twin Reverb Silverface thing. I've just had repaired, and I haven't found an amp that sounds better than it. And it sounds ridiculous because they're not super sought after, they're not ridiculously expensive. There's just something about it that's
they're a classic though. Are you using that as a pedal platform or are you getting the grit from it?
No, it's like fully gunned. It's like
I'm gonna see because you have to gun them.
Yeah.
Fair play.
It's got a push-pull volume as well.
Right, that helps.
And then I've had it set up so the channels are then in phase rather than out of phase. So they're jumped as well. So the normal channel, everything is on 10 on the normal channel. And then on the channel with the reverb on it, I've had a new reverb tank put in it because it was out for years and years and years. So I've had that sorted. I set that to about 6 on there. And then, the treble pot, once it gets to like I think it's over 8, it turns into a Fender Deluxe or something. The circuit's very similar. There's some weird thing that's happened to it. So I have that on 10, the middle's on 10, the channel volume's on 10, and the bass is on like 4 or something like that. And then the master's on like 3 or 4, depending on how loud I can be in the room. That is gunned, like that is, pretty hot. But then for a sort of a cleaner sound, I've got an Ernie Bone volume pedal. And this trick I learned, I'm trying to think, it might have been Taking Back Sunday, we talked with them, and the guitarist had this thing where it had a little block, like a wooden block, wedged underneath the volume pedal. So rather than it being a completely 0, it goes down to about like 6 or 4 or 5 or whatever you'd want on your volume pot on your guitar, rather than doing it like that. So it turns it into like a clean channel by rolling the volume back through a pedal, which I've been doing for years and years and years. Quite a fun trick. So I run that
back. That's genius.
So, because I mean, there's no better, in my opinion, there's no better distortion than a clean amp that shouldn't really distort. That's driven to, it's going to sound like it's about to explode.
Yeah, this amp can't cope good sound, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 135 watt twin, and it's got like their 30 watt Celestion speakers from the 60s. So they're quite small magnets. So they sound like 10s rather than 12s, actually, the speakers. So it's just, I mean, yeah, like I say, I'm absolutely in love with it. It's so good.
And this is what I mean about saying each instrument has its own sound. Because, for example, if what I get asked all the time as a guitar teacher is, what's the amp settings for this? And I'm like, well, it depends what gear you've got to recreate it. And also, if someone tried to use those amp settings, like middle on 10, on something like a Boss Katana, it's going to sound nothing like it. You can't copy it.
No, it'd probably sound awful as well. I don't recommend any of those settings. But just for that amp, it just does something for that specific amp. So I used that. And again, I recorded pretty much everything through that with like 3 other amps at the same time, usually, most of the time anyway.
Stunning.
But it's that, and then a Ferrograph. It's a 2A, Model 2A. You may or may not have heard of them.
I've not heard of them. It's
not technically an amp, it's like a preamp. It's from, I think it's 1955, I believe, is the one that I've got. So it's a reel-to-reel machine with a 10 by 7 inch speaker, Goodman speaker in the side. And I'm not using the top deck or anything, I'm just using the preamp. And it's like 3 watts, but it's loud, like it's a loud 3 watts. Because it's all like Mullard tubes and stuff, and it's cool as, really, really cool.
To put this into context, we are about as far away from Kemper territory as possible here.
Yeah, well, I'm going through my rebellion era.
Good man, talk about it. Why?
Because we did the whole Kemper thing.
Right.
When we were last touring, towards the end. And I can look back at live videos of us playing, and I just look so sad.
Yeah, this is it. When you're playing bigger stages, why not? And of course, when you've got to fly in and then you're straight out, like say if you're playing Brazil and then you're coming straight back out, you're either renting gear over there, the amps over there, or you take a Kemper or something equivalent.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there will be a situation where something like that will happen.
Yeah, and I think for this year anyway, we're not going abroad, so I can do all this. But genuinely, like, amps, gear, all that it brings me so much joy. It really does. I love it so much. And I think it's as important to me as the performance is what I'm performing with. And if I love what's going on and it sounds right, I'm going to enjoy it way more. Anything Kemper, that kind of thing, I get it. I do get it. I've tried it. I've owned it. Whatever. But I have sold it because it got to the point where I was just thinking, this isn't what I'm about, really. I don't think. For me,
Same.
I don't sort of have anything against people that do it, but I think for my sound, it's that kind of. It's not super clean, but it's also not super distorted. And I think the one thing that digital stuff doesn't do well is that in-between thing.
It's super both clean. The in-between and also that my amp can't cope cranked sound.
Yeah, you can't emulate that.
Yeah.
You can't. You just. I don't care. You just can't. Like super clean. You can get some really nice clean stuff. Absolutely, that's cool. And it's like it's the same thing then with like metal bands that use it. I get it because you can get a really good heavy sound pretty quickly and easy. Absolutely got nothing against that.
Yeah.
I just think for us or for me personally, it's just not the vibe that I want to be doing. Hence why I'm using amps that are older than my dad even. So yeah, I use those two, and then I've been running a high watt custom 20.
Ooh.
Which I've had for a few years now, and I use that that's kind of a bit more of a bit more of a pedal platformy kind of sounding amp usually. It's almost like a safety net amp because it's pretty reliable. So I have that as like a third amp.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how much of it is going to the front of house really, but if anything, one of the two kind of really, they sound very distinct. If they're not there, then that's a sort of a safe backup that will always sound good, and
Good,
it's made down the road.
Outstanding. And talking more about your live set, what has been a favourite song to play in the 2025-26 set from the winter gigs? What are you looking forward to playing live this summer?
I think we're looking forward to playing some of the stuff that we've not done yet. We've played literally all the singles that we've released so far. We've been playing on the tours that we've done in December and January. We've done all them, and they're fun. I think it's going to continue to be more fun once people kind of get their heads around the songs more. Do you know what I mean? Because we're playing the older ones and everyone's like, ah! And I get that. So I think once people have sat with the album a bit longer, then that'll be fun to sort of, just to get people's reaction a bit, because it was starting to happen with A Kiss from a Mother a bit, where it had been out for a couple of months, whatever, and it's like people were definitely vibing it, and it's like, great.
Yeah, there's only so much people are going to enjoy to watch live songs they haven't heard yet. Because people are trying to work out, hang on, is this released yet? Is it not? Yeah, once it's been out a couple of months, you start to get that cheer when you play it.
That's it.
Well, Jack, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at Download Festival and
Yes.
and at 2000 Trees. And, mate, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys come back properly for the tour. It's exciting.
It is indeed. It really is. More next year.
Indeed. And that's a nice little exclusive there. Thank you for that. Good to hear. And thank you very much for talking with me. New album out 22nd of May. Check it out, guys. Support these. Support a Leeds band, because you guys are. I'm really excited to teach some of these songs. I can see there'll be more than one I do a video for, because there's some good riffs in there.
No, thank you very much.
Not at all. Thank you.